Today, we're diving into a really fascinating new pilot study. It explores a potential link between an ancient remedy and some very modern relief for breast cancer survivors. And trust me, the findings are pretty remarkable.
You know, we focus so much on the fight against cancer itself, which is obviously crucial. But for millions of survivors, a whole new battle can begin the moment that treatment is over. So today, we're going to explore that next chapter, the often hidden challenges of survivorship. And we're talking about a huge number of people here. Something like 70% of breast cancers are what's called hormone receptor positive. All that means is that they're fueled by hormones like estrogen. So for these survivors, treatment includes this crucial medication called Adjuvant endocrine therapy. Its job is to block or lower estrogen levels to stop the cancer from coming back.
But this life-saving therapy, well, it often comes with a hidden cost. Let's take a closer look at the struggle that so many survivors face every single day.
See, while it's doing its job suppressing estrogen, this therapy can kind of throw your whole system out of whack, the delicate balance between your nerves, your immune system, and your hormones. And that disruption can lead to a whole bunch of side effects that can seriously mess with your quality of life. We're talking about crushing fatigue, insomnia that just won't quit, frustrating cognitive issues, that brain fog you hear about, and inflammation. And these are not just minor annoyances. They can get so bad that they actually make it hard for someone to stick with their treatment plan.
So with effective options being pretty limited, researchers are looking for new ways to help manage all this. And that search has led them to a very, very old source of potential relief. For more than 2,000 years, the Ganoderma mushroom, you might know it as reishi, has been a cornerstone of traditional Asian medicine. It's sometimes called the mushroom of immortality, and it's been valued for centuries for its powerful effects on the immune system. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, scientists have isolated these specific active ingredients called fungal immunomodulatory proteins, or FIPS for short. You can think of these as the mushroom's tiny little powerhouses. They're the very molecules that allow it to interact with and help balance our immune system. And this brings us to a really specific FIP, a compound called Reishimmune-S. Researchers wanted to see if this concentrated extract could make a real, measurable difference for breast cancer survivors. So they designed a pilot study to put it to the test. The study itself was actually pretty straightforward. They got 19 women who were on endocrine therapy for early-stage breast cancer. These participants took a dose of Reishimmune-S under the tongue every day for 6 months. And along the way, the researchers tracked their quality of life with standard questionnaires and took blood samples to look for changes in their immune cells, right at the start, at the 3-month mark, and again at 6 months. All right, so that's the setup. The big question is, did it actually work? Let's dive into the results and see what these patients actually reported. And right away, after just 3 months, they saw the first promising sign. The patients in the study reported a statistically significant improvement in their cognitive function. I mean, that's a huge potential relief from that awful brain fog. But one of the biggest findings was the impact on fatigue. Just look at this. The average fatigue score, and remember, lower is better here, it dropped significantly after just 3 months. For someone dealing with that kind of exhaustion, that represents a huge improvement in daily life. And sleep, well, that took a little bit longer. But by the 6-month mark, the results were really clear. Insomnia scores also dropped quite a bit, which suggests that the participants were finally starting to get more restful nights. Okay, so patients are reporting that they feel better. That's fantastic. But the researchers wanted to go deeper. What was actually happening on a biological level that could explain this drop in fatigue? Well, the answer seems to be hiding in our immune system. Now, to understand this, we need to meet a specific type of immune cell, the natural killer cell, or NK cell. The best way to think of them is like your immune system's security guards. They're constantly on patrol, just looking for any of your own cells that have become stressed out or abnormal. But the researchers drilled down even deeper. They found that a specific type of NK cell, one with a special little receptor on its surface called NKp30, seemed to be the key player here. It looked like the levels of this particular cell were directly tied to how tired the patients felt. And when they looked at the data, it was crystal clear. Over the 6 months of the study, the proportion of these specific NKp30 positive cells in the participants' blood dropped. And not just by a little, it was a really substantial decrease. And this right here, this is the key connection, pulled straight from the paper, a positive correlation. In simple terms, it means this.
When the levels of these specific NKp30 plus cells were higher, patients reported feeling more fatigue. When the cell levels went down, their fatigue went down right along with them.
So these findings are incredibly intriguing, right? But, and this is a really important but, we have to put them in the proper context. What does a pilot study like this really mean for survivors? First and foremost, we have to remember this was a pilot study. Its main purpose was just to see if this whole idea was worth exploring further. It's a critical first step, for sure, but it is by no means the final word on the subject. And the researchers themselves are very clear about the limitations. I mean, the study was small, only 19 people, and crucially, there was no placebo group, so we can't completely rule out a placebo effect. Plus, 6 months is still a pretty short-term observation. All of this just means that more research is absolutely vital to confirm these very promising early results. So, let's just boil it all down. What's the takeaway? What we know is that for this small group, taking Reishimmune-S was linked to feeling better. Less fatigue, better sleep, clearer thinking. What we don't know yet is if these effects would last, if they'd work for a bigger, more diverse group of patients, or how much of a role the placebo effect might have played. Still, this study gives us a compelling glimpse of how a compound from an ancient mushroom might help solve a modern medical challenge. It connects a patient's feeling of fatigue to a specific, measurable change in their immune cells. And that opens up all sorts of new avenues for research, leaving us with this final, really thought-provoking question. Could nature hold even more keys to improving life after cancer?